WFYI podcast brought to you by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering food and drink, college sports, outdoor activities, live music, cool art, and good times daily. Everyone is welcome in Bloomington. More information at visitbloomington.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's May 9th, and I'm Drew Daudelin. On today's show, 2 Statehouse incumbents lost their re-election bids in Tuesday's primary, Caitlin Clark makes her Fever home debut, and more than 100 teachers packed the State Board of Education meeting this week to demand changes on new literacy training requirements.
You are dangling this $1,200 stipend in front of my face telling me it's worth it, we respect you, here's a little crumb. I don't want a crumb, I want respect.
Those stories coming up, but first, children and families can experience a free day of play in downtown Indianapolis this weekend. WFYI's Abriana Herron reports on Indiana's largest outdoor festival for kids.
There will be many interactive and educational activities for children of all ages and abilities at the Salesforce and J.P. Morgan Chase 500 Festival Kids Day. The event will include inflatable bounce houses, a rock climbing wall, arts and crafts, music, and live performances. Children can play basketball with the Indiana Pacers and Fever or can run in the non-competitive Rooster Run. There will also be a fitness zone and an obstacle course for children to complete. Officials expect more than 20,000 children and family members to attend the 2024 Kids Day Festival. The event is this Saturday. It begins at 11 a.m. on Monument Circle. I'm Abriana Herron.
2 Statehouse incumbents lost their re-election bids in Tuesday's primary, one from each chamber and one from each party. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith has this summary on state House and Senate races.
There were 116 state lawmakers running for re-election, 75% of whom were unchallenged in the primary. 6-term Republican Representative Sharon Nagel lost her bid to challenger Matt Commons. While Nagel won the most populous county in her district, Commons handily beat her in the more rural areas. Democratic Senator David Vincent lost to an opponent he had beat once before in a different kind of election. Vincent only joined the General Assembly in January when he narrowly won a private precinct caucus to replace Eddie Melton. The man he beat that day was Gary City Councilman Mark Spencer, and Spencer won the rematch Tuesday in the open primary. Both Commons and Spencer are expected to win their races in November. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the Statehouse.
Caitlin Clark spent Wednesday practicing inside an empty Gainbridge Fieldhouse. On Thursday night, Indianapolis's new game-changing star will be welcomed by a near-sellout crowd of 17,000 that believe the WNBA's #1 overall pick can change the Indiana Fever's fortunes. A little more than a month after leading Iowa to its second straight NCAA championship game, Clark will make her Fever home debut in a preseason game against the Atlanta Dream. Clark's mere presence already has made a difference. In the preseason opener Friday night at Dallas, she scored a team-high 21 points in a 79-76 loss in front of another near sellout. The Fever will have 36 of their 40 games televised nationally, and Clark's regular season debut May 14th at Connecticut will be the first live sporting event streamed on Disney+. And for our final story today, a follow-up to a story on yesterday's show about recently unveiled rules that mean Indiana teachers must learn a new way to instruct reading. On Wednesday, more than 100 teachers responded by packing the State Board of Education meeting to demand changes. From WFYI's Education Desk, Rachel Fredette reports on how educators want changes to those rules as the state heads into a collective effort to revive literacy skills.
Signing up for Indiana's new literacy training courses was harder than finding Taylor Swift tickets. That's how some teachers described their experience to Education Secretary Katie Jenner. Teachers like Rebecca Bryant of South Newton Elementary in Kentland want more training options to be counted, a say in what's being done going forward, and above all, respect.
You are dangling this $1,200 stipend in front of my face telling me it's worth it, we respect you, here's a little crumb. I don't want a crumb, I want respect.
More than 12,000 educators have signed up for the training. Some teachers say there's not enough money to cover training for all educators. Jenner says her office will work with state lawmakers to ensure the courses remain free to educators going forward. I'm Rachel Fredette.
The state's largest teachers union sent the Education Department a letter of demands last week. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Abriana Herron, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Drew Daudelin. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.